Hello everyone and welcome back to the inn. Tonight,
a tale of glorious redemption.
Exactly, a tale of glorious redemption. So Bob, if anything, you're walking through a corridor, and you come to a split path. You have one left and one right. Which way do you go?
I go forward.
You go forward, you say? Well, fine then. On a pedestal in front of you, you see before you the Lesser Pearl Spellstone. 2 cost. Summon a 2/2 spirit with taunt. Restore 3 health to upgrade. And as you upgrade it, you get a 4/4 with taunt. And at the final end of it, you get a 6/6 spirit with taunt. Paladin, you shall rejoice. Because now you gotta find a way to just build your deck differently.
We apologize for Eddie being drunk.
If anything, I look at this and I go, that card that we reviewed in the last video that goes here, restore 3 health, combined with this, ooh, getting a 2 cost. To just go, alright, here's a 4/4 with taunt, or a 6/6 taunt. Doesn't matter to me, but just, oh, I love it. As far as where I see this potentially shifting and sitting in the meta, I put it in the, like, playable area. Just depends on how things shape and shake out, because with paladins, while they're known for their healing, deck building and all that good jazz and how things go as far as metagame goes, Bob, I'm just gonna kick it your way.
Control Paladin. Yeah, I remember I said that Paladins actually have a lot of ways to heal, and yeah, some of them is going to be small healing, so you might have to double up a bit, but yeah, Paladins have enough healing that they can justify playing Pearl Spellstone and actually getting it to a 4/4, or more likely a 6/6. So, especially in like Control Paladin, maybe some mid-range decks, but yeah, I think that there are a lot of ways that you can build a deck and build it in a way that Paladin can very easily get the minion out for cheap and have a really beefy taunt. So yeah, I think I'll see some play. I don't think it's going to be as easy as the previous card we talked about to see play, but as the Benevolent Djinn. But I do think that this card will see some degree of play, because I do think it's actually kind of easy to get to upgrade this card. So I think a 6/6 taunt for 2 is pretty sweet. So I think this will see play, hands down. So next up we have Explosive Runes, which is a mage secret that says after your opponent plays a minion, deal 6 damage to it and any excess to their hero. I love this card. This card is a great control secret. It's definitely one I'm going to be playing with. And what's great is since it deals a X number of damage to a minion, I'm just thinking about this going into my spell damage deck, which with a number of spell damage minions on the field, this bumps the damage up and up and up and up, and you can easily, if you know what you're doing, get this to deal more than 6 damage. Now, there are a few conditions. I think if they put a Divine Shield, let me look about the...
There was that condition that if you have Explosive Rune up,
yeah,
and my opponent plays a Divine Shield minion, do they eat the 6 to face, since it technically dealing no damage to the minion, or does the shield absorb the damage? And Peter Whalen confirmed that the minion blocks the damage equal to its health, like a non-Divine Shielded minion.
Okay, so it'll destroy the Divine Shield. It will, send some damage to the face. So I mean, that's good. And like I said, you can easily, if you know what you're doing, get this to deal more than 6 damage to the minion that comes out. Essentially, this is a you play a minion, I kill it card. And if there's damage left over, it hits the face. This is just a very good secret. It's essentially a great way to control the board of, I'm anticipating you having a big scary thing come out, so I'm going to kill it, and then excess damage will be dealt to you, and that's just good overall. And I think this is a secret that Mage is definitely going to play. This is a meta-defining secret. It's going to be all over the place, and this is going to be very hard for the people trying to figure out whether it's explosive runes or mirror entity, and most of the time it's going to be explosive runes. So yeah, I love this card. It's going to see a ton of play, and I can't wait to play around with it. I'm making sure I have 2.
Yes, if anything, this being a rare makes it to where it's like, okay, it's easier to yank and just put it in the bank. And then it's so good. Like, Mage getting this, yes, I agree with you, definitely meta-defining. Secret / tempo, burn, whatever you want to call it at this point, Mage is gonna be on top of the world with this new secret. I love it. So for me, I get to scoot on over to Sonya Shadowdancer. She's the 3-cost 2/2 rogue legendary that after a friendly minion dies, add a 1/1 copy of it to your hand. It costs 1. Ooh. Now, if anything, for me, I like this in something like Jades. Because it's just, you drop it late game and then start going blink, and 1 cost copy to my hand. And then this thing dies and I get a 1 cost copy to my hand. Or, I saw somebody talking about it, let's just drop her down and then let's play patches over and over and over again. Machine gun patches, yay! I think she'll see some play in Tempo Rogue. So, if anything, I kick this ball in Bulb's direction.
I think she definitely sees some play in the right decks. I don't think she makes it into every kind of deck, especially since they're 1/1 copies that cost 1. You definitely want this to be with combo pieces or with very high value minions that you want them back in your hand, even if they're 1-cost 1/1s. Death Rattles work, especially the Jade Swarmers. So I can see this making its way definitely into like something like Jade Rogue, Death Rattle. This is not a card that goes into every rogue deck, but I think it goes into certain rogue decks, and I do think it will see a certain degree of play. I don't think it's going to. I personally don't think it's going to see a lot of play because its effect requires kind of crafting your deck around how you're going to use it. So I don't think it's going to go into Tempo Rogue. I don't really think it will. But I do think that certain rogue decks will run this card. But, like I said, even though it will see some degree of play, it's not going to see a lot of play. And that's why I'm making that distinction. It's not going to see the same degree of play as something like Shaku did. It's going to show up every now and then. It's not a bad card by any means. But it's a very situational card. And, you know, that's okay. Can I just say I like the art, though?
Yes. If anything,
I kind of just want the card just because I like the art. Even if I don't put it into a deck.
If anything, for me, it's one of those, hey, she didn't skip leg day, that's for dang sure.
So, next up we have Arcane Artificer. It's a 1-cost 1/2 Mage Elemental with the effect, whenever you cast a spell, gain armor equal to its cost. I love this card. This is great. I don't think it's just great in Elemental Mage. I think it's just a great Mage card in general. And I do think that this is going to show up. I think this is a potential meta-defining card, just because Mages use a lot of cards, a lot of spells. So whether you're Tempo Mage or Elemental Mage or Control Mage especially, this is a good way to just gain a lot of armor. You just make sure this thing's protected, or you put this out before you play a big spell, and you just, you know, get a lot of armor. And if you can keep it out, you can just gain more armor and control the board. I kind of like this card. I think it's a meta-defining card. I think we're going to see a lot of it.
If anything, for me, I look at this and I just go, when did they become, like, when did the mage become the next warrior? Because it's just, play this, I'm going to keep gaining armor left, right, and center. It's like, well, But yeah, if anything, I definitely agree that this is such a good card. So it's just like, boom. So if anything, I can move on to Grand Archivist. 8 cost, 4/7. At the end of your turn, cast a spell from your deck. Target chosen randomly. Oh. For the parentheses part, this would have been an interesting card. But then we get into the parentheses. I just go, not the biggest fan of it. Bob? Can you convince me?
Here's, besides the fact that the targets are chosen randomly, it's not just, you know, looking at a spell from your deck and then casting it in the spell station of your deck. It takes the spell from your deck, cast it with random targets, and it's gone. That by itself makes it a bad card. If it stayed in the deck, maybe you'd have an argument of, okay, this is fine. You know, if not a little busted. But it takes the card from the deck and then casts it randomly, and you have no control over it. And I don't know, if I'm putting spells into a deck, I kind of want to have some degree of control over what I'm using them on. So yeah, it's even worse than Tortolan Primalist, because at least with Tortolan Primalist, you kind of got to, you discovered it, you kind of got to choose what you wanted, and then it got cast randomly. It really didn't hurt you. This one kind of hurts you a lot. It's like 2 gut punches. And then with that, no, it doesn't say play. No, get it out of here. Get it out of here. Run away. Just run. Bad Archivist. You are not a servant of Yogg. Bad. Up next, we have Arcane Tyrant, which is a 5-cost, 4/4 elemental, with the effect that it costs 0 if you cast a spell that costs 5 or more this turn. In certain decks, this is very easy to pull off. With certain classes, Mage, this is very easy to do. I think Priest might be able to do it, depending, but probably not. I'm just thinking you're more likely to use this as a Mage, if you use it at all. A lot of people are going, oh, I can cast a spell and then cast this for 0 and play it an Elemental Mage. I'm just thinking, but Mage has a lot of better elementals already, including ones introduced into the set. Yeah, it would cost 0, but is a 0 cost 4/4 even worth it when you have all the other elementals that Mage has access to? I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. And maybe if you're doing a big spell type deck, maybe this makes it into the deck that way you can also play a 0 cost 4/4. But I'm looking at this going, I don't know. I don't know, Eddie. How often did Happy Ghoul make it into decks last expansion?
For me, when I saw Happy Ghoul, I was seeing it played in Warlock, more so than anything. So that's where it kind of sat itself in.
Yeah, but it still doesn't see play in Warlock.
It does.
Yeah, but you had to think about it.
One class, and that's like I said, it's Warlock is the only class that kind of finds itself
But still, Warlock doesn't really use it. And I'm thinking the same thing's going to be the case with Arcane Tyrant. People are going, oh, it's an elemental. An elemental mage is going to be big. And Mage can cast these big spells. so they get a 0-cost 4/4. And they forget all the other elementals that Mage has access to. If you keep all the other elementals in mind that Mage has access to, you go, yeah, I could probably cast this as 0-cost 4/4, but is this worth it? Compared to Frost Elementals, certain Kalimos get more Elementals, Blazecaller, Baron-Geddon, any of the Elementals introduced in this set. Other Elementals I'm forgetting from last set are like, or Journey to Angoro. It's just like going, does Arcane Tyrant have a home? I don't think it does. I really don't think this card has a home. Maybe there'll be a deck that finds use out of it, but really, when you compare it to other cards that it's going to be fighting against, I don't think it makes it. I think this is a card where people go, ooh, shiny Neetrunk, it's going to be awesome, and then they forget that what it's competing against, and it's not going to get used. So no, I think this is a interesting idea for a card. I just don't think it's going to be used overall.
I will be on the other side of the coin because, like, it's 5 or more. So people will look at it and potentially go, oh, hey, look, Firelands Portal, Funk. I get 5 damage on either face or board, and then I just throw this bad boy out there for free.
Okay, what deck does it go into?
I don't know.
See, that's the problem. You're going, oh, it'll be played, but you don't know what type of deck it'll go into. A lot of people are going, oh, it's going to go into Elemental Mage. I'm going, no, it's not.
It could go into a tempo or an aggro kind of style, but...
Maybe. I'll give you that. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll have to definitely see, because this is one of those things to where, like, I know you're on the fence of, no, and I'm just on the fence of, you know, I'll give it a shot, at least, you know, to say, hey, it can see play.
I think this is a card that people are going to try running until they realize, you know, how many better options they have, and then it'll kind of drop off.
Yeah, that could be the true thing.
Yeah, I don't think it. Now in Arena, yeah, this is gonna be nuts.
Yeah, that'll be a good card for Arena, no doubt.
But in Constructed, I don't think it finds a home.
So, next up, we get to move on to Psychic Scream. 7-cost Priest Epic. Shuffle all minions into your opponent's deck. Good God, Priest! Why? Like, you already have a good control and good handle on the board as it is. This is bonkers. Like, this is bonkers good. I'm gonna put this in my meta-defining slot, because it's just like, there's no way that this does not see play in the active meta / tournament scene. So it's just like, if you're not running this in your deck, the heck's wrong with you? Kicking this to Bob's direction.
I think Rizakis definitely plays it. But here's my problem with it. Everybody's going, oh, this is so awesome! This is so incredible! It's going to be ran all over the place. And they're probably right. It's going to be ran all over the place. But here's the problem. People are thinking of this as a board clear when it's just a board delay. Congratulations! You get rid of things on the board. You shuffle it all into your opponent's deck. Good for you. You're acting like your opponent doesn't have a way to come back. Number one, you've probably spent your entire turn just casting this. Well, congratulations! You did get rid of the threats on the board, but you also don't have things on the board, and you don't have you pretty much play this out. You don't have anything else to play. Your opponent goes, well, I lost all that stuff. Now, unless they are relying on specific combos or specific whatever, chances are they're just looking at you and go, all right, so I can't attack you this turn. I have things in my hand. Let me just repopulate the board. Now what? Have fun. All you did was get rid of the things on the board then. You saved yourself some damage next turn. But the thing is, your opponent is going to be getting those minions back at some point. Your opponent, more than likely, has things in their hand that they're going to just play. Boom. And, of course, they're probably anticipating Psychic Scream, and Psychic Scream gets a bit big in the meta. or they'll at least be in the back of their mind. So of course they're going to have plays. But now, if you had things on the board, now your opponent has them. I sure hope it wasn't good. I think this is a card that could be impactful. It could be good, but I don't think it's nowhere near as good as people are saying. People are treating this as a board clear when it really is not. It's just delaying your problems. Your opponent is going to get all of that stuff back. They're going to get your stuff back if you cast it when you had stuff on side the field. And you're assuming that by casting it, you've disrupted your opponent majorly, so I control the board, when your opponent just goes, well, I can just repopulate it. And hey, you gave me stuff. I'll just replay it later. People are acting like Psychic Scream majorly disrupts your opponent when in reality you just annoyed them for a turn. That's all it does. This is not Entomb level of good. Entomb was I get rid of this thing, I remove it from the field, and I get it, and I can play it later. Psychic Scream is I get rid of things on the field, they go back in the deck. They will be coming back out. Maybe sooner, maybe later, but they will be coming back to get me, and my opponent probably has a plan to play more things on board. I've just delayed the problem and not solved it. And here's the thing. Board clears solve problems. Psychic Scream just delays the problem. And it costs 7. You're probably running at most one of these. If you're running 2 of these, oh, you are in trouble. But you're at least running at most 1. And it's probably just going to delay the problem. It's not going to really help you in the long run. I would rather have solid removal. That is AoE. That's stuff that planes just gets rid of the minion. This just delays the problem. I'm actually not a big fan of this. I probably will not run this. And if I run this, unless, something probably until after Dragonfire. After Dragonfire rotates out, I might run a copy of this in my priest decks, but most of the time, I don't want to give my stuff to my opponent. I'd rather just have a way to just remove the stuff my opponent has, instead of, here, okay, it goes back in your deck, and have my stuff too. Because that won't backfire at all.
But Bob, Razaka's Priest is the king.
But here's the thing. I said it would be good in Razaka's Priest, and the reason it's good in Razaka's Priest is because you just go ping, Psychic Scream, ping, maybe play something else small, ping. And Psychic Scream is good for you because you want to stall them out, because you want to ping their face more, and you're not really giving them anything because you really don't care what's on your board, and you're probably not putting big things out on your board, or putting things out on your board at all. In the end, for you, it doesn't matter. But let's say you're running this, people are going, this gets ran in every priest deck. No. If it's not Razaka's Priest and you're running this, this might turn out badly for you, depending on what kind of priest deck. Maybe Control Priest, but again, Control Priest, the big thing with Control decks is you have to have an end game, you have to have a win condition, so that because you can't control the board all the time, you have to have a way of, at this point, I have to turn the corner and win the game. And the thing is, if you're putting Psychic Scream into a Control Priest deck, I'm not sure if you have a plan to win the game there, buddy. And I'm not putting in Lyra Benedictus because I don't want you to have my stuff that's still stuff. I don't want you to have my Lyra. I don't want you to have I don't want you to have that stuff. Dragon Priest does not play it because Dragon Priest is a board-centric deck, and I don't think if I'm Dragon Priest, I want you to have my dragons. Nope, not going to happen. Sorry. If you do play Psychic Scream in Dragon deck, yeah, prepare to get your butt kicked by your opponent when they start playing your dragon crap. Because now you've gotten rid of your advantage of big beefy dragons controlling the board, and then gave that advantage to your opponent later on in the game. Have fun with that. Any sort of tempo priest, big priest is not going to play it. Because, yeah, this is a good idea. Play that big priest to send all your big things over to your opponent. And since technically this did not kill your stuff, you can't get it back. Have fun with that. Here's the thing. This is a very situational removal type spell. I don't even consider it a board clear because you're kind of clearing the board, but you're just really delaying the problem and giving your opponent your stuff and giving your opponent the initiative as far as repopulating the board. Because you can't play this and then play something else to kind of give yourself a tempo advantage, to give yourself an advantage over your opponent who no longer has advantage. Whereas your opponent just goes, okay, you send all my stuff back in my deck. Because let's compare this to the Rogue card Vanish. Because I think this is a good thing to compare it to. Let's compare it to Vanish. Vanish, you send things back to their owner's hands. It doesn't send everything over to one side or the other. Everybody gets everything back into their hands. It's a good way to just kind of clear the board, give yourself breathing room, and kind of stall. And Vanish is always used as a stall tool, moving up to a control or a combo-oriented deck. By the way, if there is a Temporis combo deck, I think they run Psychic Scream. But here's the thing. You can plan out your Vanish so that it actually destroys some cards, and you can actually plan things out, and you could maybe mill your opponent and destroy some cards and cause your opponent to have a disadvantage. Psychic Scream doesn't do that, because it puts it in their deck, not their hand. Which means it doesn't destroy cards. Ever. Vanish can destroy cards. Psychic Scream just says, well, put it in your deck. Your deck's bigger. Hey, your opponent you just gave your opponent an advantage over you in fatigue, you idiot. Have fun with that. Unless you have a plan where Psychic Scream really works, like whether you are a control deck that has a plan to close the game later, whether you're Razakis, where you're just stalling and just bursting them down, whether you are some sort of Temporis OTK deck, where you need to just stall for as long as possible, and Psychic Scream does that. If you're not any of those type of decks, Psychic Scream is just going to shoot you in the foot. So, no, this is not a good board clear. Everybody's treating it like it's the second coming of board clears. It is not. It's a board clear delay. Your opponent is mainly going to be able to just put stuff back on board. You've just delayed a turn, and they're going to get all their stuff back. This card is not as great as people are hyping it up to be. It's good in the right circumstances, in the right decks, but it does not go into every single priest deck. Get that out of your mind. It is not the second coming of AoE. This is going to replace Dragonfire Potion. Blah, blah. No. No. You want pure damage in most of these priest decks. You want to actually remove things permanently. And Psychic Scream does not do this. It will see play in Standard only because it will become one of the best options, but it should not be ran in every single priest deck. And when we go on to the wild side of things, Priest has so many better options that I don't think wild Priest decks want to run this whatsoever. Because, you know, you have so many really good single removal options and AoE that outright damages or destroys things, that Psychic Scream is just a bad idea. So, yeah. I don't think it's as good as people are hyping it up to be. It's okay, but only in certain types of decks. So I think that a lot of people are hyping this up to be a huge card, but I think that maybe at the beginning a lot of people just play this, and then they realize what's actually happening, and then it just starts to peter out and only appear in certain types of decks, like mainly your combo or Razakis decks. And because there's a control priest deck that really has a good win con that it works up to at the end, it would make its way there, but really, that's just a limited number of priest decks. If it's not one of those, it doesn't see play. And yes, because most priest decks are Razakis, that means it's going to see a lot of play. Until Raza rotates out at the beginning of the next rotation, in which case those decks are kind of dead in Standard, and Psychic Scream just kind of drifts away into the ether. So yeah, Psychic Scream, not as good as people think it is. Okay in the right decks, but it's not the level of meta-defining people are trying to make it out to be.
I would like to get more than 7 cards in tonight, Bob. Would you like to continue on?
Yeah, so let's talk about Hoarding Dragon. It's a 4-cost 5/6 dragon, of course. With the death rattle, give your opponent 2 coins. If it's 2 cords, I'd like to know what those cords do. But yeah, give your opponent 2 coins. Actually, I don't find this to be too bad. It has the downside type death rattle. It doesn't have the battle, unlike Hungry Dragon, that have doesn't have a battle cry, it has a death rattle. So you can always silence that if you really want to. It's a 5/6 for 4. And if your opponent gets 2 coins, depending on what the deck is, you might not care that much. Now, if it's certain other types of decks that you might not want to give them 2 coins, but for some other decks, 2 coins might not be that big a deal for the 4 cost 5/6. So I think it's decent. I think Dragon Priest probably will consider playing this. Depending on what their options are, I think Priest will kind of mull it over. But I think if there's definitely a slot, I think Dragon Priest will probably end up playing Hoarding Dragon. I think it's actually a decent card.
I will say this firstly, because I look at this card and I go, okay, this is a nice, solid 4-drop common for the arena side of things. I want to make sure I put that out there right out the gate, because like, it's really powerful in that landscape. As for the standard side of things, it's a definitive solid 4-drop for just about anything and everything. But where it sees play, definitely Dragon Priest is a high-end option, because, you know, just dropping in on that tempo, just doom, doom, doom. And then, heck, if people want to, they can go for their Dragon Mage, just because. So with that, I'm going to scoot over to Voidlord. 9 cost, 3/9, Warlock, Demon, Taunt, Death Rattle, summon 3 1/3 demons with Taunt. Doesn't see play. Bob.
I kind of like it. It's a nice taunt. There's a card it reminded me of. I'm trying to remember what it is, though. I forget. I think it has the potential to maybe see play if you can figure out a way to cheat it out. But even if you drop it on 9, it's actually not bad, especially in a controlled demon lock. The downside isn't that bad. 1/3 demons with taunt. It can come back with Gul'dan. I mean, it is solid. It's not the best demon around, but it's solid. Now, granted, you're probably right. It probably won't be see play, but I don't think it's that bad, to be perfectly honest. It just depends on what you want to do. I'm trying to remember what the card I had in mind is that was very similar to this card that actually did see play.
Was it Void Caller?
No, it wasn't. It reminds me a little bit of Obsidian Statue. Now, Obsidian Statue had the life heal and the kill, but it's a big, as far as stat-wise goes, it's big, it's beefy, it's going to take some hits, and then it's going to put more taunt out there. It protects your body, which is what it's kind of supposed to do. And then, if you come back with Gold Hand later, you summon a whole bunch of taunts. And just look and say, hi! I mean, from a controlled Demon Lock perspective, this actually isn't that bad. Now again, does it see play with the, considering what the Hearthstone community likes to want to play with? Probably not. It is just not powerful enough. They want strong. It has to have 5 attack, 6 attack, 7 attack, 1 billion attack. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Oh, defensive cards? What's that? I don't care. But 3/9 taunt. That summons 3 1/3 taunts, all of which are demons. When it dies, which you can then resummon, or you can you can actually combine with other demon synergistic cards to actually create a beefy board if you want to. I actually don't think it's that. I don't think that's that bad of an effect. Now again, I don't think it sees play, but I don't think it's as bad as people are saying it is. And especially if you come up with a demon deck that can cheat things out and just put it on the board early, this is incredible. And even at a 9 cost, it's actually not that bad. It's not meant to be big and beefy and just hit your face for a bunch. It's meant to stall and keep things from hitting your face, and just essentially control the board, which is kind of what you want to do if you're like a control demon lock. So I mean, it's decent. Won't see play, but it's still decent. I'm waiting for Eddie to tell me how I'm wrong.
I give you your opinion. I put mine out. We move on.
Okay, well next we have Fal'dorei Strider. It's a 4-cost 4/4 with Battlecry. Shuffle 3 ambushes into your deck. When drawn, summon a 4/4 spider. Now, first things first. Why is it a spider and not a Nerubian? It's essentially the same thing. Yes, the ambushes are going into your deck and not your opponent's, but it's essentially the same thing. Just make them freaking Nerubians. Is that too much to ask for a guy who just wants to create a crazy Nerubian deck that just summons 4/4 Nerubians like crazy? It's a 4/4 spider. It's the same thing, but it kind of wrecks the overall thematic theme of the deck. I mean, yeah, this is going to see play. Beneath the Ground saw play. It was kind of fun. Being able to play this, which is a 4-cost 4/4, which is solid, and you pretty much randomly will get 4/4s on the board later on in the game. Yeah, this will see play. This is going to be a strong card. This is kind of a meta-defining card, and I love it.
Yeah, I'm definitely agreeing with you on the meta-defining side of things, because I look at this and I go, you know what, Milrogue has its spot back in the standard meta-game side of things with this card. And in Wild, ooh, you get so many good cards to just go, here we go, thunk, 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 and look at all these 4/4s on my side of the board. Can you deal with them? Maybe? Yes. Am I dead yet? No. Okay. I love it. I really do. It's one of those things where I'm just like, I can't craft all these epics. Why? Why can't I craft all these epics? So next up, we have Hungry Ettin. 6-cost, 4/10, Taunt, Battle Cry. Summon a random 2-cost minion for your opponent. Firstly, Arena. This is a big old booty for you. Secondly, Standard. I don't know where this falls. Because on one end, I like it because it's got a really, really nice stat line. But that's summon a random 2-cost minion for my opponent. Everybody made the comment on it of, you know, the end is coming, because it's summoning Doomsayer. I'm just like, you make a point. Or giving your opponent, like, Radiant Elemental, or, Sorcerer's Apprentice, and then it's just like, ugh. So, I'm just like, Arena, you've got a home in. Standard, we're still up in the air. Bulb.
I think this can find its way into a control type deck where you put this out there when your opponent is starting to get a board, and you want to kind of want to control things, kind of want to protect your life. You put this out because it's going to be hard to get through, and the 2-cost minion. Most of the time, the 2-cost minions are going to be inconsequential, but you might be hoping for a Doomsayer to come out, wipe the board, or for something to come out to pretty much make your opponent's life miserable by taking up a slot or whatever. So I actually think this is actually a good card. We'll see. Well, again, like Voidlord, will it see play? I don't know. I don't know if people will actually want to run this. I can see the benefits in running this. I think its control possibilities are very strong. I don't think you put this in a mid-range deck. Like I said, I think you put this into a control type deck, like a control warrior or something like that, to really pretty much protect your life, control the board, because things are going to have to run into it, and you're probably going to kill or damage a lot on their board. More than likely kill things, and there's a good chance that you just put a Doomsayer out there, which just wipes everything anyway. So I like this. I think this has potential. I just don't know if it's going to be able to fulfill its potential. And, you know, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what people want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Cataclysm, which is a 4-cost Warlock spell that destroys all minions. It says destroy all minions and discard your hand. So essentially, this is a 4-cost Deathwing effect. This is good. This is actually a very solid board wipe for 4. And it actually, like Deathwing, it actually would fulfill and finish the Warlock quest. So there's a chance on turn 4 you can wipe your opponent's board, finish your quest, so that on turn 5 you can play your portal. This is a very strong card, even outside of Disco Lock, where it's very strong, and chances are you destroy the board and like summon things or do all sorts of crazy things. This is good for just wiping out a board. It's a very cheap board wipe spell. And I think it will find a home. I think this is essentially a meta-defining card. I think this is an incredibly strong card. And people play Deathwing for its effect. Yeah, it's also because so you can have a 12/12 on the board. But being able to have a cheap board wipe effect is actually pretty strong. And I think this is going to see play.
Oh yeah, this definitely sees play. No doubt in my mind. But it still also finds a way to not discard my daggone Silverfire Golems!
If that happens, I'm just going to look and go, Blizzard must hate you.
Exactly! Exactly, it's just like, I played Soulfire. There's one other card in my hand, and you discard the only other card in my hand, and I have the both right there! They're right there! I'm gonna move on to Call to Arms. 4-cost Paladin Epic. Recruit 3 minions that cost 2 or less. Hello, Secret Paladin in Wild. Just throwing that out there, if anything. Just for 4, throwing out 3 minions that cost 2 or less. Well, there goes my Knife Juggler. There goes my Hunter Spider, and there goes potentially a Shielded Minibot. Thins the deck, makes it to where it's just like boom, 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 boom for 4. I can get behind this card being at least definitely on the wild side, meta-defining. As far as standard side goes, I haven't really sunk too many thoughts into it because I've just been bonkers for wild at this point. So if anything, Bulb, do you see something that I'm not seeing right now as far as standard goes for Call to Arms? Murlocs!
Murlocidin. That's the only deck I can really, and standard I can really see running this. This would be so incredibly strong in Murlocidin. Just flood the board. That's what you want. Flood the board. Boom. Maybe you get out your maybe you can get out your charge Murloc and just buff everything up. But yeah, Call to Arms. That's what you want. I think Murlocidin finds a home. A lot of people are going, oh, this can go in this and that. I'm going, no. Murlocidin, I don't think it goes into any other Paladin deck because normally they want to be playing those lower cost minions or buffing them up or whatnot. They don't want to just have them put on the summoned outright. They just don't have the minions for that, or the minion-based decks for that. Murlocidin is the exception, especially since there are a lot of 2 or lower Murlocs. So yeah, Murlocidin and Standard and Wild, you're going to have Secret Paladin, but that's about it. This is a very niche card. It goes into those type of aggro decks. So, yeah. Next up we have Lynessa Suncaller, who is the Paladin legendary. She's a 7-cost 1/1 with a battle cry. Cast each spell you cast on your minions this game on this one. I'm I guess it. I want to check to see if they've clarified anything about this. Eddie, do you know if they've clarified anything about? Because before I can really evaluate this, number one, I need to know whether it casts the spells in the same order, and whether the spells cast on it counts towards the quest trigger. I'd say it's a no on the quest trigger, like it would not count as actually casting a spell, but actually order is important. Does it cast the spells in the best order, or do they cast the spells in the order that you cast them?
That part I don't know, to be honest.
Nothing's been said?
That I have been able to personally see.
Okay. If it's cast in the best order, it'll be one thing, but more likely it will be cast in the order that you cast spells, in which case you have to keep in mind throughout the entire game the order in which you've cast spells, because if you're going to play Lynessa, that's going to come into play. And as far as Galvadon, if the spells getting recast counts toward Galvadon, that could be incredibly broken, but chances are it doesn't. Which means, in general, I'm not sure how good Lynessa is. Because you have to keep track of all that in the back of your head for your entire game, and you're trying to get to Galvadon, and you're just trying to rush and do this, and then you play Lynessa and it doesn't count. Is she worth it? I'm not sure she is. So, those are the two questions that really need to be answered. And if they're answered in a satisfying way, she could see play in a Last Kaleidosaur deck. But then again, it's the Last Kaleidosaur, so that probably means she's not going to see a lot of play.
I'm going to be on the other side of this one. Because when I think about it long term, in a sense, let's say you have a minion on board, and you're able to just play Spike-Ridge Steed on 6. And that's maybe the only buff spell you've gotten to play this game. You play Lynessa. She comes out, boom, 3/7 for 7. With Taunt. That's pretty nice. So it's just like, okay. Then you've got the idea of like Blessing of King that gets played in certain decks. And I'm just like, okay, I can see Lynessa honestly being a card that actively does see play. You just gotta figure out, do you want to play it in your regular, like, maybe a tempo style of Paladin, or are you just gonna go in this route of, like, I'm gonna buff everything? But I can honestly see her seeing play. I don't see her being in the Last Kaleidosaur style, because just, it's the Last Kaleidosaur, so it's just like, eh. So, yeah. That's me.
Yeah, but I think you're having the Kaleidosaur dream. I think if she's not playing that deck, she's probably not going to be played in many other Paladin decks, to be honest.
Oh, buddy, if anything, I can see your point. So it's just like, on one end, we'll have to see where this shakes out. Alright. Next up, we have the Kobold Hermit. 2 cost. 1/1. Shaman, common. With the battle cry, choose a basic totem and summon it. I get to pick my totem? Spell power totem? Okay. This is pretty nifty. If anything, you're getting a 2 cost 1/3 or 2/2, depending on what you want to do. Makes Totem Shaman a thing again, so I kick this one in Bolt's direction.
Yeah, this is pretty good because you'd probably be using the 2 mana to use your hero power anyway. And this is essentially like your hero power, only you get to choose the totem and have a 1/1 on the field, and that means that the counter on your hero power isn't ticked off for one of the totems. So yeah, this is actually pretty solid. Now that again depends on the type of shaman deck as to whether they want to run this or not. But this could be a pretty solid card in certain shaman decks like Evolve or anything where you're trying to generate enough minions to maybe Bloodlust later on. So yeah, I think this is pretty solid. Next up, we have Primal Talismans, which is a 3-cost shaman spell with the shaman spell that says give your minions Death Rattle, summon a random basic totem. Alright. Well, I guess that means that they clear your board. They don't really clear your board because you still have minions there. But then the question is, then what? Are you planning on involving them the next turn? Bloodlusting? If you have a plan where you need a full board, then Primal Talismans will be good. But if not, Primal Talismans is bad, man. And here's the thing. Well, and here's the thing. Maybe I should just get into it with the next card. Because I think unless you have a plan for why you need a full board, whether it's evolving or whether it's bloodlusting and whatnot, Primal Talismans is just a bad card. Period.
But if you want the Windshear Stormcaller,
you're just going to jump to the next one, aren't you?
Yep.
Okay.
Which is a 5-cost 5/5 Battlecry. If you control all 4 basic totems, you summon Alakir, the Windlord. Which everyone knows what and who Alakir is. 8-cost 3/3 Wind Fury, Divine Shield, Charge.
Yeah, I was about to say you might as well just put it up on the screen anyway.
Yeah.
Just show it off.
So it's just like, boom, Windshear. He hits board on 5, and if you've got all these other totems because your opponent decided to just go, I'm not gonna be very threatened by these sorts of things, instead of going like face or whatever, you look at it and you just go, you know what? Boom! Alakir for 5. And he's so good if you can pull off this combo. So it's just like, you know what? Go for it. I can look at Windshear Stormcaller, and you have to play this in Totem Shaman. Like, there's absolutely 1,000,000% no doubt. So it's just like, go for it. I look at it in Wild, of course. But if you're going to try this in Standard, you're going to have an uphill battle. So, Bob, do you want to take over on the reins on this one?
Okay, so let's talk about, just go back really quick on Primal Talismans in relation to Windshear Stormcaller. Again, it depended on how full the board was when you played Primal Talismans and when it gets wiped, because with Windshear Stormcaller, you need to have all 4 basic totems and then put this down. Okay, that's 5 slots minimum. Basically, it needs to have with 6 slots. That only gives you leeway of 1 slot. Okay, you're taking up most of your board just to pull this off, which makes it very difficult. And Primal Talismans, probably you're using this on full board, which probably means you're not getting your Windshear value the next turn because it's probably not going to summon Alakir because it doesn't have the room. But here's another thing about Alakir, and this is the thing is everybody's like, Totem Shaman is back, baby. Here's the thing with Totem Shaman, though. Totem Shaman decks, the totems by themselves, and basically, here's what you have to understand with the totem decks. The win condition was basically getting your totems to be able to attack. And the original totem deck, or Totem Shaman deck, you essentially had Thunder Bluff Valiant, which pretty much buffed up your totems so they could attack. And there was also a lot of other things to pretty much play off of just having a lot of totems and then distributing power. That option is no longer available in Standard, which means that these totems are kind of just going to be sitting around not knowing what to do. And Alakir is nice and all, but when you haven't had a lot of opportunity to really get your totems to do anything, especially since after Thunderbluff Valiant, you essentially, Totem Shaman would be looking to essentially be evolving. So it's not really totems, it's kind of using totems to evolve. So pretty much the best option before with Totem Shaman was just buff up the totems, get them big, and use them to threaten the board. And even then, it wasn't a top strategy. It didn't really do a lot. And with Alakir, you're going, Alakir, it's amazing! Okay, here's the thing. Alakir's not going to kill them. If you're playing a Totem Shaman type deck, and this is your end goal, you're going to have to do a lot better than Alakir. Because Alakir can do 6 damage a turn, and they can probably clear it. If they haven't been clearing your totems already. You have to have an in-game plan here. So pretty much your in-game plan is probably going to have to be Bloodlust. In which case you really don't need Alakir. Let's be honest. Because if you Primal Talismans onto a full board, it gets wiped out, they're all totems, you can just Bloodlust next turn and just kill them outright anyway. Alakir by itself, without anything to buff Alakir up or help Alakir attack, is not going to do diddly squat. As far as win conditions go, this is a pretty pathetic win con, unless you can figure out ways to help buff Alakir, or preferably your totems, up. And right now, I'm really not seeing the options to do so. Alakir is a nice shiny reward, but what are you going to do with the reward? And I'm not really seeing that option here. One of the things I'm actually considering is I have my own Totem Shaman deck. Back in the heydays of Totem Shaman, when we had the Inspire cards, I actually built a pretty interesting combo-focused totem deck, where my combo was essentially just finding ways to just with 2 types of minions to just buff up my totems and make my totems the threat. And I've essentially put in secondary possible win conditions in case that my main win condition is taken out. And even though I have multiple ways to keep the win condition going, I put in secondary routes. And right now, I'm just looking is the Windshear Stormcaller secondary win con better than just having, I don't know, a Drayani Totem Carver who just looks at a full board of minions, of totems, and just becomes very beefy. Would I rather have the big beefy minion, or would I rather have a Windshear and summon Alakir? I don't know. Again, it's a secondary win con. It's a weak secondary win con, and if you're looking at Standard, I think it's a weak primary win con unless you have some help, and you need to be thinking Bloodlust. If you're not thinking Bloodlust, you're just going, I'm just going to have a whole bunch of basic totems, and then I'm going to Windshear, and then I'm going to get Alakir, and then everybody looks at you, okay, you have Alakir, now what? If you don't have a plan past getting Alakir, you're going to lose. Chances are, you're going to lose anyway. This is a very sucky win con. I don't think it really sees play. I think people will mess around with it unless they can figure out how to make it work and essentially be lethal. It's disappointing. It's not going to work.
And if anything on that note, that is all the time that we have for this episode of The Traveler's Inn. Come back next time, if anything. So that way, if we find a card that Bob wants to rant 10 minutes on, he can.
Oh, it feels like good times again. It feels like old times.
So if anything, give us your thoughts. Give us the old like. Subscribe if you like. We will catch you guys next time. Until then, bye-bye.